But now this machine, they don't have to hook you up to anything, right?
Well, that's just it. And it was interesting what you said about government intrusion in our lives. This technology, which Department of Homeland Security now calls future attribute screening technologies because malintent sounded a little too scary, it's designed to screen you in a less invasive way. Like the passive scanners they now have at airports, we've made a big fuss about the fact that the scanners can look at you naked, that there are pictures of what you look like without your clothes on, and that airport screeners might be passing the pictures around and laughing and giggling about them and, who knows, uploading them to YouTube. The problem is that the privacy issue is not the biggest issue when looked at from that angle. When technology can screen you passively, scan you, look at everything you have on your body, when it can, in the case of the fast technology, use a variety of physiological sensors to try to peer at you almost like a lie detector from a distance and somehow get some indication of what you might be thinking, tiny not visible to the naked eye indications that you are thinking bad thoughts, that you have some bad intent. That's where malintent comes from. If they can do that without touching you, if you just pass through a doorway to do it, if they can scan you without patting you down and frisking you, they can subject you to the most invasive, most hands-on level of personal security screening and peering into your life and what you're doing and what you're carrying without you ever really knowing about it. If we can become comfortable with technology like this, because it's very easy to be comfortable with a technology that doesn't actually disturb us, then we'll become complacent with a degree of invasive government scrutiny that we feel okay about because it doesn't punch us in the face with its scrutiny every time it does it. If you had to get frisked down at every street corner by a police officer in uniform, you would be screaming all day long about the violation of your rights that was occurring.
We're living in a police state, right?
One of these screeners at every transition from public transportation to moving out on the street. If it works at airports, what's to say that we wouldn't want to stop people who are thinking bad thoughts and thinking violent thoughts from moving about freely in society?
Well, you're not getting consent from the individual, right? And you're intruding, as you point out, from a distance, but there's no consent. You have to get to consent. They're going to pat you down, right? Or if you're going to step into one of those screeners. But this, they do it without you knowing about it, much like them reading our emails and tapping phone calls without us knowing about it.
Yeah, but they've been doing that for years.
Yeah, but this, the problem I see with this is it's very subjective.
Yeah, it is.
What you wrote in your article, they're looking at different parameters that might show up, like your heart rate, or you might be showing some anxiety or temperature rising. Many things could set that off, right?
Well, I mean, you could be having a bad day to begin with, or you're like a person going on a business trip, and you're kind of frustrated. You're like, oh God, why'd the boss send me on this stupid trip? You could be frustrated or just frustrated because of a long line at the airport. You're going to be agitated in some way, shape, or form by the time you go through that little security deal, and they're going to misconstrue that, Jeff, as you said, as criminal intent, or like, I'm so ticked off at my boss.
It could be anything. It could even be a guy gets a little excited. Maybe the stewardess is pretty hot looking, and that could raise the same kind of biological alarms that they may be looking at in this technology.
But the point of it is, it's like you said, it's not very subjective.
Well, it's subjective.
It's very subjective, and really, I mean, you're gonna get yanked out of a line. You're gonna get frisked and body cavity searched and all that kind of stuff.
You set off the equipment, sir.
Yeah, because you set off the equipment. It's about as bad as the no-fly list. That's not a foolproof thing either.
Well, no, and all of these technologies are based on a common desire to prevent a crime before it occurs. That's the whole concept behind a variety of legislation now. The problem is that this technology, much more explicitly so, turns the justice system on its head and says, you're not innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
You're guilty because we say so, because we're worrying about you. You have to prove your innocence. It's the same type of idea behind any legislation that treats all American citizens as criminals who just haven't had the opportunity to commit a crime yet. We used to operate our justice system in a way that said, you're innocent until proven guilty. Once you commit a crime, we'll punish you for it. Now we're trying to rearrange the conditions of the physical world such that people who want to commit crimes, people who are thinking bad thoughts, may still want to do those things, but somehow we'll magically stop them from being able to do so. And what we lose, the price we pay if we're trying to arrange reality in that way, is that we deprive countless American citizens who've done nothing wrong of their civil rights.
Yeah. Emotions ebb and flow all the time. Your body is changing all the time, your attitudes, your emotions and feelings.
Well, that's what the war we have is about. It's a preventative measure. We're going after these people before they can become a problem.
Yeah, because we suspect they might be. This is so very dangerous, Phil, and we see this, that they're already categorizing people in this country. If you don't fit in the two-party system, you're independent, maybe you're unhappy where the government is taking us right now, you're probably on some kind of list. They're probably watching you as maybe a potential domestic terrorist. And now they add this. They're going to interpret our feelings, our temperature. What are all the details that they're looking at with this machine that determine whether you're a bad guy or not?
Well, the Department of Homeland Security claims that future attribute screening technologies is an initiative to develop innovative, non-invasive technologies to screen people at security checkpoints. FAST is grounded in research on human behavior and psychophysiology, focusing on new advances in behavioral, human-centered screening techniques. The aim, and I'm quoting here from the DHS website, is a prototypical mobile suite that would be used to increase the accuracy and validity of identifying persons with malintent, the intent or desire to cause harm. The physiological telltales that they're looking at range from what you talked about before, things like heart rate and so on, to micro muscle manipulations of your face. They're peering at you, looking at all of these telltales, much like a lie detector does, to see if some part of your body language, some holistic look at your body language, is giving away, sort of telegraphing the intent to do some actual real violence to someone, in much the same way that on a much more gross level, they've done studies and shown, like, police camera video from police cruisers that shows often when a suspect is about to, say, pull out a firearm and shoot at a police officer, he'll sometimes telegraph that motion by making, body movements similar to what he's thinking about doing. On a much more micro level, FAST does this. It looks at things that you, with your naked eye, couldn't see in hopes of predicting what you might do. The more insidious application of this technology, though, and you hinted at it, is this is the same Department of Homeland Security under Barack Obama decided that anyone who could conceivably not agree with Obama or Obama's political policies must be, by definition, a domestic terrorist. And they did that in part by listening to people like Morris Dees at the Southern Poverty Law Center. Morris Dees defines as a hate group or as a domestic terrorist anybody who doesn't vote Democrat. You then combine the technology that says, well, he's thinking it. He hasn't done it yet, but he's thinking it, with this drive to redefine political dissension as not just wrong or invalid, but as dangerous. And then we've reached a point where we can claim to quantify, to measure, to scientifically demonstrate that anyone who's not a good Obama-voting Democrat is dangerous by definition, potentially dangerous, and must be stopped. It's an initiative it's not a conspiracy, but it's certainly held by many, many like-minded people across the left side of the political aisle that seeks to legitimize their political bias by claiming that there's some sort of scientific basis for it. I wrote a column a couple of weeks back that addressed a study claiming to prove statistically that conservatives and libertarians were less intelligent than progressives, which of course is ridiculous, but that's the drive. That's the point of what they're trying to do.